In the novel The Trial by Austro-Hungarian writer Franz Kafka, Joseph K is accused of a crime. He never learns the nature of the crime, nor can anyone explain it to him. He meets a series of people supposedly because they can help him, but no one can. In the end, he is killed for his unknown crime. The novel starts with K waking up on his 30th birthday, and there waits in the hostel he's staying guards who have come to arrest him. Immediately, he denies that a crime has been committed and that he is innocent. When he asks what crime has been committed, he receives no answer. Not from the guards, and not the sort of judge that arrives in his apartment. He will never get an answer to what crime has been committed. But this raises the question of truth and knowledge. How can we know that something is true even if the variables are never known? According to pre-Socratic philosopher Parmenides, we cannot talk about what there is no language for. Non-existence is unspeakable. Therefore, we can in one sense assume that there is no crime. The crime of K in this case, I think, must be one of existing at all. It seems like the bureaucracy isn't interested in anything than its own running, and that the way to keep it running is by creating crimes where none exist. At the lawyer's house, he meets the merchant Block, who is farther down his case, which haven't even begun, it seems. The truth becomes irrelevant to the point of the case, since the case is non-existent. But since K doesn't know that, he becomes a prisoner of the system. Which brings us to another pre-Socratic philosopher. Heracleitos is the one who said that no man enters the same river twice. Another of his aphorisms is that the road up is also the road down. He claims that opposites need each other to work. Fish live in seawater, but seawater is dangerous for humans. From this we can see this oppressive system and the underlying work of its processes. The system needs criminals, but without crime they need to create criminals. It turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy. The bureaucracy needs its innocent people to designate as criminals. To return for a moment to Parmenides, he argues that nothing can really change. In each instant, everything is still, and therefore nothing really moves. This helps us understand the case of Joseph K. He is always at the same place, no matter what he does. The trial never moves forward. From the perspective of the bureaucracy, because they need criminals to judge, to maintain the bureaucracy, it can never move forward and let people free. It is even said by the merchant, to sit and wait is not pointless, but to try and intervene yourself is pointless. The act of being tried is what's important, not the judgment itself. Moving forward is impossible. Simone Weil tells us that what is holy is what is beyond words. If we take this context of what is unthinkable into the view of Parmenides, which is that what is unspeakable is non-existent, we must again see the crime of K as non-existent, since no one can explain it. I think it's interesting how the entire story takes place within the framework of bourgeois society. It's like a tour of the bourgeois for help. He meets the lawyer, the merchant, the painter, and the priest. He himself is a banker. If we are to see something as holy, then it is the body of the individual, since the entire story takes place within the framework of liberal bourgeois institutions. Physicality is never a factor. The bodily experience of K is never brought up. Are we supposed to assume that his legal identity is enough to justify this injustice? It looks like it. The one interesting thing in Orson Welles' film of the book is the ending, which is changed. In the book, K gives up and more or less allows himself to be killed by two sinister agents of the bureaucracy. In the film, he rejects the system and yells at the agents to kill him, and they still do. Welles claimed that he could not use the original ending because it had been written before the Holocaust. This strikes at the core of the divide between the physical and legal identity. The physical body is agencyless in the context of K's world. The horror of the Holocaust is about the way bodies were commodified and thrown aside to see fit. The body of the human was not, as Weil tells us it is, considered holy in and of itself, since the legal definition made them disposable. Wells turns the abrupt horror of the unmentionable into almost farce. Immanuel Kant describes time as the form of consciousness, and nothing but the outlook on ourselves and our inner state. He means that through our own consciousness we create the experience of time, if not the changes that time causes. If we see the world of the trial as a self-fulfilling prophecy, we can also understand that the world denies us this capacity to experience our own consciousness. In the second to last chapter, K meets a priest in a cathedral. The priest tells a story. A man arrives at a door. The door has a guard. The guard tells the man that the door is for the man, but he can't enter yet. The man thus waits outside the door for years and years until his death. The thing is, if the man had wanted to enter, no one would have stopped him. It was not the job of the guard to stop him. Therefore, we can see that K is responsible as well for his own crime by participating in the rules set up, despite not making sense. I don't want to come down on a specific conclusion, but I think one can see the story as a journey into K's own mind. He lives insincerely, and thus can't come anywhere. He doesn't care about his family, his father and his sister, or the women in his life, nor the people he meets. The death of his body is just a kind of signal that the death of his mind has already taken place. He perpetuates himself through the system, and when he is no longer needed, he is deposed.